Today is Yud Gimel B'Shvat Tashin Ayin. This is a shir kali for Parshas Beshalach.
Right, so we're turning to Perek Tes Zayin, chapter Tes Zayin, right at the beginning of the Perek. Where we were told in the previous Perek, in Perek Tes Vav, the Arichas Sipur, the long story, we get to Kriyas Yamsuf. And then immediately following, the Eden came to a place called Morah, and they complained there to Moshe about water, that they didn't have water. And Moshe Rabbeinu prayed, we cried out to the Eibishter, and even though there was water over there, it was bitter water, it was undrinkable, and it became sweetened through a special ace which Moshe Rabbeinu threw into the water. And then we see a little further, at the beginning of this chapter, there's a new complaint that there's no food. And so therefore in Pasuk Beis, Vayilenu kol adas b'nei Yisrael al Moshe ve'al Aaron b'midbar. Vayenu aleihem, Yalenu means that they complained, or they brought complaints, to be more correct, against Moshe ve'Aaron. Vayenu aleihem b'nei Yisrael, mi yitein museinu b'yad Hashem beretz Mitzrayim. Would that it would be that we had died in Eretz Mitzrayim, but at least b'shivteinu al sira haba, so at least we would have died in a natural way or in a better way, because at least we had what to. We had the what you might call the pot of flesh, where we had plenty of meat in the meat pot, and also ba'ochleinu lechem la'seiva, and we were able to eat bread for complete satisfaction. Ki ha'itzeisem ha'isanu el ha'midbar, that you have brought us instead out to the midbar, lahomis es kol ha'kahal hazeh baro, to put this whole congregation to death by starvation, with hunger. Vayem Hashem el Moshe, hineni mamtir lachem lechem min hashamayim. So an immediate answer comes to what seems to be a very strong and embittered complaint on the part of the Eden. An immediate promise from Hashem that He's going to bring down like rain. Mamtir is from the word motor. It's a causatory word from the word motor. I will cause to come down in the form of rain, lechem min hashamayim, bread from heaven, a heavenly bread. V'yotzer ha'om, and the people will be able to go out, v'loch tu devar yom and they will be able to pick or literally gather from this lechem min hashamayim each day according to its requirement. The dvar yom b'yomai. And so Rashi tells us that dvar yom b'yomai means the necessity for that particular day. They will gather on that day. And they must not gather for the necessity of the morrow, of the next day. And that's devar yom, what is needed for one day, b'yomai, in its day, no more. Now later we see that there were people who tried, and we see that it wouldn't stay from one day to the next, the man. It went bad. What's the purpose of all that? Laman anasenu, in order that I should try him, or try them, referring to the Yidden, hayelech b'seirosi imloi, whether he's going to go in the way of my Torah or not. And then he tells them, Benegetu Shabbos, that there will be one day when they can't pick more than what they need for that day, and that will be Yoma Shishi, on Friday and Erev Shabbos. They'll have to pick, on the contrary, they'll pick a double lot, and it'll be double, Mishneh, Al Asher Yuchetu Yom, and that'll be enough for Friday, and it'll also keep over, and should be kept over for what's needed for Shabbos by day. And there's also a famous sikha from the Rebbe. We have to say that there was also a portion of it would stay over to Moitzu Shabbos, because they had to have a malava malkir. And so that's a whole interesting diuk, how much actually was consumed on Shabbos day itself, and how much remained over, and how much of Friday remained for Friday night. We see that the Eibusha says he's got the answer to the problem, that it's going to rain bread. Bread is going to rain down from heaven. And some of the great Rishonim and other great Sfarim, Amazbir, that the man came down at night when people were asleep, or in the late hours of the night prior to break of morning. Had you been able to see it, it would have looked like fine rain. And it came down in the form of piles of like small particles of grains. That's how they learned some of the psukim a little bit further in the parasha, and like it fell in piles all over the area. And then, according to the Gemara Masechta Yuma, according to one opinion, it got into huge heaps that were very high. And nonetheless, no matter how much you took, and that may have been a very inviting sight to see piles of it all over the place, it wouldn't have helped, and it didn't help. Lapoyo, the man was dvar yombe. It was enough for that particular day, and that day on. So the Eibusha says, Laman anasenu, that I should put him to trial, whether he'll go in my Torah or not. Rashi says, Anasenu hayel v'teirasi, there hasn't been any Torah yet. The Torah hasn't been given. This is all before Matan Torah. Therefore Rashi says that teirasi is referring to mitzvahs hatluyas boy, mitzvahs that are dependent in the man itself, that you mustn't leave it over for the next day, and that you mustn't go out on Shabbos morning looking for it. You must be satisfied with what you got on Friday. So those are mitzvahs which are in the actual man, and that's the taish that I'm going to try you to see if you'll keep the mitzvahs and you'll believe in the promises that I've given you, but again to the man. That's how Rashi learns the inyan. However, we find that many of the other great Rishonim learn slightly different what is the trial here, and what is the inyan of the man to going in the Eibusha's Torah. What's that referring to? And the far comes along the Rashbam, what he was Rashi's Einiko, and he says that since every day it came down only for enough for one day, despite the fact that it may have come in huge quantities, but it wouldn't help you to, and the rest, on the contrary, just melted, didn't it, Yossi? Going against the rules of the game over here. Ad kedi kach, the Gemara says in Masechta Yuma that when it melted the man, after Yidden had taken what they needed, then big rivers used to form from all the man used to turn into water, and it used to cause big rivers. And that's one of the ways that they had water, and they had everything they needed to wash and to everything, to wash all their kelim and all their clothes. In certain sources in Midrashim, it appears that they were big rivers because it was a tremendous amount. It used to come down every day, and it used to melt into these nachalim and rivers all over the place. It didn't help you, klal, to get them all. They only got as much, and the rest of the man had other uses for the Jewish people and for the world at large. So he says, the Rashbam, it follows Lefizeh, Einehem tluyos lemazeinei sehem elai. Kunta is that every day the Yidden, even though they'd seen such a tremendous shefa the day before, tremendous amount, but by the time the night time comes, there was nothing there except for rivers and other, what you might call outcomes of the man, or belopoil. There was nothing to eat by the time, they went to sleep in the night time. It could be there was a little was left for a Suda Sa'era, like the Rebbe's Medaktik in that Suda. After they went to sleep, there's nothing to be seen. No more man. Therefore, their eyes were continuously lifted up to the Eibishter for their food. Even though everything was such a tremendous shefa the day before, the next day you're watching to see if the man is going to come. Mitoy kach says the Rashbam yaminu bi. And because of that, they will come to believe in me. Vayelchu b'sei rotzi, and they will go in the way of my Torah. Kamoshe mefurish b'parsha v'hoyo eikev. Later on in Sefer Dvarim, in Parsha Eikev, it's written over there. David says to the Yidden that I inflicted you and I caused you to be hungry. Laman nasa ishcho, in order to try you. But this is written here, and in order to cause you to be literally cloven to me. Like it's brought down over there in Moshe Rabbeinu's repetition of all the inyanim that happened. So Kumta is that according to the Rashbam, what is the trial here? What is the I'm trying you? The trial is that every day, despite the tremendous shefa and bracha that had been the day before, you didn't know klal what was going to be, and you had no way of being sure that the man was going to come down, except belief and trusting in the Eibishter. That was like a nisoyin of through that trust, through that lifting up their eyes continuously to Hashem, well, that will cause them strengthening their emunah abamera. They'll go in the Eibishter's Torah, since they believe in him so perfectly, then they'll go in his Torah even klali. So the Rashbam puts down a yesod that what is the nesoyin. I'm going to try him. I'm going to try them. It's a big nesoyin to have what you got for today, but not to be sure if you're going to have it tomorrow. And not only not to doubt Hashem, but to completely trust in Him and believe in Him implicitly that it's going to be tomorrow. Well, that's a form of a trial. But if you do trust Him, then you'll become dovuk to Him, and you'll go in His Torah. Right? You'll be a hoylech b'toirasa. You'll always be progressing and becoming deeper in his Torah and in cleavage to him, and that's what the pasuk said over there. That Moshe Rabbeinu tells the story that you were afflicted and you were made hungry, but he literally fed you the man. So Lefizeh Kunto is that the man was taki a food, but it's what we call in the Lashon Kodesh a machal ravon. It's a food. It's a hungry food. In other words, when you eat it, you're worried and you're hungry. What are you going to have it again? That's called a machal ravon or a machal nesoyin. In other words, it's wonderful while you're eating it, but your mind is turning into the future. Am I going to have this again? So it's like a form of hunger. When you eat it, it's eating and hungering too at the same time. And remember, that's the yesod what the Rashbam puts down, that was the trial. But after through that, you come to be Yelchu b'Torah. Ask yourself the question: why would that make you go to the Eivishter's? Why would that make you go in the what's the connection line? What's the click? Because I'll always be trusting in Him, my eyes will always be lifted to Him, that if I'll go in the Torah and I'll believe in Him perfectly, maybe on the contrary, if every day, if you're not sure, you might say, listen, Avish, make him Seder, every day. 40 years of it. I mean, it's a long time. So you might say, well, good, after a few weeks, they realize it's coming down every day, so then they were, how do you call it, restful, based on the experience of the days adkoi. Oh, it's just the same, it's not so simple. When you have no other surety except your absolute trust and belief in the Eivishter, it's a nesoya. So here we won't necessarily go into the whole question, why does Hashem make a nesoya on people? I mean, He knows everything anyway, and He knows what they're going to do anyhow. This is well known in Tanya and Chassidus, the whole Bia. Even the Rambam touches on that in his famous statement in the Hilchos Teshuvah in Perek Hey. The Rambam says the Eivshter knows everything. What sort of choice do we have? The famous kasha. He knows what's going to happen anyway. So what's the point that we choose? So a similar sort of shaila is, but again, I mean, anyway, Hashem knows what we're going to do. Why does He try? What's the point of a trial? So the Ramban and the Rabbeinu B'chaya Marich and Narinian both here, and by the Akedah, because it's written by the Akedah that the Eivshter tried Avraham. So what did it mean He tried him? I mean, Hashem knew for sure that Avraham would stand in the Messiah. They answer, Hashem makes nisyonos in order to be mefalseim in the world what it means to have emunah. In other words, to show the nations, as you will, show all observers and all peoples, and for that matter all Yidden, what it means to have emunah in Hashem, and to be mefalseim the greatness of emunah in Hashem, and that Hashem answers those who believe in Him and turn to Him, that Hashem looks after them. That's the point of the nesoya. But in Chanami, the Eivishter doesn't need the nesoya in order that he should know, and there's really no point in the nesoya. And the Alter Rebbe brings in Chassidus Shvat a whole different, slightly different angle in the nesoyas, that they're really for the person that's being tried, that by being tried, and he has to stand in the trial, even though it doesn't make any sense. The Etzem trial doesn't really make any sense. Well, that causes him an aliyah in his strength, and his connection with the Eivishter becomes completely renewed and deepened in a different way that it could ever be without the Nesoyin, etc., etc. So here we see then that the Nesoyin is that you'll have to, according to the Rashbam, you'll have to be the whole time, every day, dependent in the man. And as I said, the Ebenezer, he says what is the trial that you need something every day, you can't be sure you're gonna get it, like the Rashbam says, but he just puts it in a very terse sentence. Coming along, the question in the mind of the intelligent reader: what is the nature of this nesoya? Is what you might call a a positive Nisoyan, or is it a negative Nisoyan? Now, I'll explain in a minute what I mean by that. This comes along the Bala Turim, and he brings down Maimon Chazal, very famous Maimon Chazal, which is used by the world. A lot of people quote this very, very often. They sort of use it as a sort of a fundament in the conduct of B'tochen in Hashem, in Amunah, learning Torah, Lishmo, not being looking for ways out of monetary gain and everything in Torah. And he says that the Abish are going to try him whether he will go on my Torah or not. And he says, Shaloi nitna Torah ela le'echle Haman. That the Torah was only given to the eaters of the man. Le'nitna Torah ela le'echle Haman. Now that's a quote from the very famous Medrash on Sefer Shmais called the Mechilta. What Rashi brings it very, very often in a great number of cases in his Pirush al Shmais. Rashi brings the Mechilta, and the Mechilta brings it on this pasuk Laman Anasenu Hayel B'Teirosi Imloi, and it brings, according to most Gilsois in the Mechilta, it brings Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and it says Sha'omar Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai Lo nitna Torah, but it's a little bit different than what the Balaturim quotes it. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says Lo nitna Torah lidrosh. The Torah was not given to darshan. They call to learn out things from darshan. Only to those who they ate the man. And he brings this pasuk Shenerma Laman Anasenu Hayela B'Teirosi Im Loi. So the Balaturim quotes the Mechilta, but he cuts it short. He just says Shalei Nitna Torah, that the whole Torah wasn't given Ela Le'echle Haman. But either the Lashon in the Mechilta itself tends to be more an emphasis on a certain inyan in the Torah. Da'ainu, to be to darshan the Torah. In other words, to learn the Torah and koch in the Torah with all the different svaras and all the pupils and all the inyanim and darshan out of the Torah inyanim. That's what it would appear is the ikar, and as well known that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, his shitta was that you should just learn Torah the whole time, as we'll see in a minute. So he's obviously not just talking about learning what you might call hard-lined dinim in the Torah, but he's learning about spending your whole time just darshaning and learning inyanim in the Torah. However, people sort of wonder, what does the Balaturim really mean? He just says, Anasenu Hayel B'Teiros, and he quotes that Maimon Chazal, that the Torah was only given, according to his lashon, only to those who are eaters of the man. So I mean, the simple touch me, like we saw, this whole thing of the man was before Matan Torah. By the time they came to Har Sinai, they'd already eaten the man for quite a few weeks. So they were already into eating the man, and the Torah was given to those people. Come along certain Meforshim in the Balaturim, and they say that he means a slightly different inyan. The Balaturim, what he means is that Loinitna Torah Ela Lo'echle Haman, that the man was a very amazing type of bread. It wasn't just a lechem mina shomayim, but it was a ruchnistic lechem, like the Gemara says in Yuma, that it's the food of the angels. If the angels can be ever described as eating any food, then that's what the man is. And they rise from Moshe Rabbeinu when he went up onto the mountain for 40 days, that he was kept alive by the same food that the Malachim eat. So we'll soon see about that maybe in a few more minutes. However, it's a very high thing, the man, a very high spiritual thing. the Torah was given to Oichle Haman, Pirush, that through eating the man, you can learn Torah much better, because you become a spiritual individual, and your whole physical and spiritual state become elevated and changed by eating the man. The Torah, Lidrish would be good also. The power of the man gives you the power to learn, or gave them the power to learn Torah. And through gaining all that tremendous inward hashpah from the man, they were fit to learn Torah, and they were able to gain Torah in its real way. So, according to the Balaturi men, it doesn't seem to. It seems like a general statement. What's the trial? Was it the Nesoyen? So maybe the Nesoyen might be Lefizeh, that I'm giving you a lot of das. Let's see what you do with it. Yeah, you gotta. If I'm trying, I'm waiting to see if you're going to use the Gevaldik opportunity of receiving so much das through the pnimis of the man. And that's why I only gave the Torah to you guys, because you got this unbelievable opportunity. However, comes along the Saporno, and we'll soon see that the Ramban's got something to say about it, even though he doesn't quote this Maimon Chazal. And the Saporno says that what is the taich that they got man every day? All right, at the beginning they weren't sure if it was going to come down the next day, but after a while they saw that it did, didn't they? You got a prize from a Dvar Malchus, and you like some sloven. Shas the Shir. Yossi also got a Dvar Malchus, and he's put himself back into the ranks of the Shir. Isn't it, Miller? No offense meant, of course. As prize winners, you've got to give them a certain amount of credit. So says the Saporno, if you got the man coming down every day, then after a while you don't have to worry about your panosa. I mean, maybe the first couple of days they did. Yeah, but after that it just kept coming. It came down so far up to now. Why should it come until whatever will be our ultimate entry into Eretz Yisrael? Then they didn't know it was going to take 40 years, but whenever we'll get into Eretz Yisrael, then we'll see what will be the story. But right now, Baruch Hashem, every day we have this amazing lechem of heavenly status, and amazing what it became Gashmi, even though it was really heavenly. It was really Ruchnius Batachas, and it became Gashmi. You could eat it. They even cooked it on Friday for the sake of Shabbos for Kaitzah. Says the supporter times that they were people like you would call the Panasosam Shaloi B'Tzar. They didn't have any. Most people nowadays have got tzar to get their how do you call it? How do you call it? A shibud, to run around trying to earn panosa, and it's called tzar. Tzar shibud hapanosa. It's a tzar. He didn't have any tzar. Their panos was all ready for him every day, a big pile of man. You can only get a certain amount, but nobody was ever in need. So it would imply, it would seem that what the Saporno is implying, that itself is the Nesoyen. That when you're in a state of everything coming down, you don't have to worry about anything, then wouldn't you tend to be a bit self-satisfied? And how would you call it? The famous claim at the end of the Torah in Parsha Hazinu, where Moshe Rabbeinu warns everybody, and you shouldn't become fat and be pleased with this over the whole, because then you'll have to forget and not pay attention to the Torah. So therefore the Saporno seems to learn that itself was the Nesoyen, that Hashem gave him all this food every day, and there was no worries. And like the Rebbe often explained, when in the Midbar, it was the ideal life. You had food, clothes were looked after, and the Anan HaKovod used to press the clothes or clean them, and everything was just a divine, state of, and that's what the Meraglim liked about being in the Midbar. The Meraglim didn't want to leave. that situation. And that's what the supporter means, that Parnasosim Shaliba Batar. And that's the Nisoyan. And therefore I want to see, when you got everything, if you're going to run in my Torah, you're going to go and progress. And to use the expression in Yiddish, Horeven, meaning to struggle and learn with sweat and toil in Torah, even though you got everything laid on. So Lafisek from Torah, that the Nisoyan is what's called Nisoyan Vatzadatoi. On the contrary, you got everything. Ideal existence. That he called a type of utopian midbar. Comes along, however, on a similar approach, the first by other certain great authorities. The Hadikon, the Rabbeinu B'chaya, says that he learns Bariches, that the whole Indian of the man was a nisoyan of having everything, on the contrary, having an ideal existence. Let's see if you will make your effort and you'll do your bit when you go to Limud Torah and find Dafka to use the great blessing of the not having to worry about Parnasa, to give away yourself completely to Ruchnias and learning Torah with the ganze. However, the Ramban, he verses another opinion. Well, we've already hinted at that opinion. And he says the Nisoyim was Dafka, that it came down only what you needed, only Yoimba, Yoimai. Well, that was the Nisoyim. It's a very hard thing for a mensch when he never quite knows what's going to be the next day. And it's put in the Mechilta and also in the Zash in the Gemara. Let's say you've got what's called pas pasaloi. You've got bread in your basket. You feel different if you know you've got bread in your basket and it's already night time and you're going to have to face tomorrow. If you've got bread in your basket, then you feel stronger. Yeah? It's a moral support for a man that he's got bread inside his bag. However, if you have bread inside your bag and you still worry about what's going to be with your panasa, then that's not good. Everybody is of the opinion that that's not a good thing. If you got bread and you got for tomorrow and maybe for the next day, what are you worried about? Worry later, but don't worry now. You can see that David has helped you, trusted him, and invite him. Oh, but we can't see what's going to come the next day, even though you got today and you got the day before. That's a trial in the Indian, like we said before, in the Indian Bitochen. And that's a form of infliction to the man. And that's what it's brought down over there. That Dave's afflicted you and he took you, made you feel hungry. So like we said, it's a lechem shel ra'ah. And you eat it, but you don't know what's going to be. It's a lechem ra'avon. And the first says the Ramban, that's a emerson trial. And that's what the Abisha was trying to bring out here. He was trying to show the greatness of the Eden, that they just relied on him and they learned these Torah and they forgot everything, to the point that some of their great scholars said, let's stay here, we don't want to go. Not because everything was bashpur, but because they trusted completely that their parnasa would be looked after. There's nothing to worry about, even though you don't see it with your naked eye. And that's another form of nisoyan altogether. That requires of you to devote yourself to Torah, despite the fact that you don't really have ashirut, but you have what might call be aniyut almost. But if you look carefully and you study carefully, you see that it's an aniyus, which is okay. The so-called stuff, it's what you basically need. What do you need? All the zachan, which you don't really need. If that's what you need, then that's what Hashem has paskin, that's what you need. So those are the two ways that we can describe the Nesoyan of the man. And therefore it's brought down in Sifrei Musa, Barichas, and the Rebbe once spoke a whole sikh about it, that the Indian of Nisyonis in life, trials that Hashem tries us, divide themselves into two main sections or how do you call them, types. is what's called Nisyonos of Ashirus, and the second type is Nisyonos of Aniyus. And it will also mention, let's say you can win the lottery, you can win millions of dollars or shkolim or chosin was at one go. He goes crackers, he's already a huge rich man. Well, that's a tremendous nisoyan, because it could be that with all the rich now he doesn't think of Hashem anymore. He can be tempted to think, I've got everything. I'm the balabas, this is my money. Everything is kilo shy to me. I have to make the decisions. And like it's put down over in the same parsha over there in Parsha Eikev, that you mustn't say koichi ve'eitzim yodi osodi es kol ha'chayla. You mustn't say that my power and the strength of my hand, that's what made me all this wonderful riches that I have. And so therefore the nisoyan for Ashiras is a very different nisoyan. And there are many things in life, apart from money, where a person also gets everything, he's happy. Well, that's called a nisoyan, and it's a nisoyan of Ashiras. However, the second type of nisyonos are the nisyonos of aniyus, where things don't seem to go, where we don't have money, and we don't seem to have, hatzlocha. You don't seem to have this, you don't seem to have something else. Even rachmanin in shlan, to the point of health and things of that nature, doesn't seem to go, this, that. It's brought down in the Siddur that those are called nisyonos of aniyus. It's the opposite of richness. And so what's demanded of you then? Nonetheless, to hold on and docu with obstinacy, to go ahead and serve the Eibusher despite the fact that you don't have everything b'shefa. So two types of nisyonos. A shefa, which can cause you to become forgetful, or the lack of same, which can cause you to become, as it were, a complainer, and a sort of a quetcher. What can I do? I would really like to be involved in Kedusha, but I just haven't got the means. I just didn't want this. He doesn't want. And we see that both of them are very difficult nisyonos. And all nisyonos are difficult. All trials are difficult. And the Rebbe seems in that famous sikha to follow the hachlota that the nisyonos of richness are harder than those of aniyas. A person becomes rich and he's got everything he needs and he becomes puffed up, as the expression has it over there in Pasha Azinum. Shamanta, visa, you become thick with yourself, blown up. Well, that's a much more delicate nisoyan than poorness. And there's a mind from the Rebbe Marash, where he talks about this Indian, and the Rebbe Marash says that a poor person, a person who's mamisha oni and he's struggling, he's got a leiv nishbar, and a broken heart, and a broken heart is very close to Hashem. Korev Hashem le nishbarei. In other words, he may not be thinking at this moment about it. He might even be, as it were, slightly angry with Hashem. Why did this happen to me? Although very easily he'll be able to come back to Hashem, because he hasn't got anything that's holding him away. He doesn't have any reason why he should hold himself to be a whole Matthias. On the contrary, he knows BMS that he's not a Matthias, and it's very easy for him to reach the conclusion. Why is he like this? Because he's not Beseder. If he was Beseder, then Hashem would have given him, even though that may not be true, but at least it's a healthy way to think. Because if you think that you're not worthy, then you'll struggle to be. At least there's a Ketzal Chadaydik, and I hope that you will. So therefore, let it be that way, that the soyin for aniyas is easier than the soyin of Ashira. Let it be that way. Actually, we see that the Spono and the Rabbeinu B'Chaye, they learned that this was an soyin of Ashiras. Hashem gave so much, and he didn't add everything. They had parnasa without effort. That's an soyin of Ashiras. Oh, now we want to see if you're going to learn Torah. Now we want to see if you'll remember who gave you everything, and you'll mamish get into Torah. Ve'ilu the Nesoyim, Fananias, that's put out by the Ramban. The others, But they point out the pink faket every day when you're looking at it. That's what he hints the Rashbam, that your eyes are sort of going up to heaven every day. Is it going to be there? Is it really going to do it? That's a very difficult nesoya. What's demanded of you that in Azam Matzav you should just forget everything and go for studying Torah. Now that's interesting. That Mechilta that we quoted, that is miyuchas to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And there's a Mechilta, another whole big Gilsa, which is the whole Mechilta all over again, but it's different. And that's miyuchas to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. That's called the Mechilta to Rabbi Shimon. It's another Mechilta altogether. That's not altogether another Mechilta, but it's got very many different inyanim to it, which means that Rabbi Shimon had a lot to do with the Mechilta, one way or another. And here in this Mechilta, he's quoted openly as having to do, isn't he? Huh? Yeah. People who win their first prizes have got to show that they're towing the line with discipline, don't they? In the meantime, your mind is creeping all over the place over there, and albeit maybe in good things or bad, you miss the line of thought. So later on you say, oh, I didn't really understand all that, and I didn't, and I heard, it's all very nice, but, and it's all dependent on you. B'chem adova, adam ki yachriv, mikem, Yaakov, and you have to pass it like Anne. Two different types of nisyanis. Rabbi Shimon says, Rabbi Shimon would tell you, what did he say? It's a Gemara Masechet Brachas. Rabbi Shimon says that you must learn Torah the whole time, and you mustn't get involved in sowing your field and reaping, because if you do, Torah matiyah aleha. That's what Rashbi said. Rabbi Shmuel differs with him. Rabbi Shmuel says, no, you must hanheg b'hem derech eretz, because otherwise, what's the match going to be mispanei? So Rabbi Shimon says, others will do it for you. Others will look after you. Others will do it for you. Rabbi Shmuel is not impressed by that so much. And the Gemara says that Harbe also Rashbi, many people tried to do like Rashbi, but also it didn't work with them. Harbe also Rabbi Yishmael, many other people did according to Rabbi Yishmael, but also Biyado. So we see that Rabbi Shimon's not an easy derek, but he's the one who tells us Haman. So the way Rabbi Shimon learns it is that when you add the man, it's like you didn't have. He learns that it's a nisayon of aniyas azar. And he's like we saw that the Rashbam says that your eyes the whole time told you what's going to be. So Rabbi Shimon says, forget about it. What does the man teach you? Forget about it. Dave, Mr. Will, look after you. Where? Okay. Other people will do it. Who's the other people? Goyim or Chaystutten mitzvot. Other people. That's what they're there for. Yeah, that'll be there l'toiv also. That they will be supporting and backing people that the whole Indian is dveikis in Torah. And that's Rabbi Shimon according to his shitta. And therefore he learns that Oichle Aman are people that they don't worry about anything. What's going to be tomorrow? He's the Balabas. And the raya is that those who were in the midbar, and they got the message the right way, they were exactly like that. They just said tomorrow will be the man, and they just learned the whole time till the Maraglim. They said, "Oh, this is great." They didn't want to do anything else, and that's the limit schos on the Maraglim derech Hagah. I mean, they were mistaken, but it's a limit schos. The Tachar affects the Shaila, what you should do is, why do we have to not do according to Rabbi Shimon? So therefore we have to say that there's a inyan, but that's not really the purpose of this class. There's a inyan that you have to come down into the world, and you have to do the world, at least majority of people do. You have to do it well. And that's what Rabbi Ishmael says. But according to Rabbi Shimon, we could say, why did the Eibishter drag the Eden around 40 years in the Midbar with this whole Seder? They didn't know from one day to the other what's going to be. And that 40 years is a long time. After a while, you get used to it, The Eibishter is running. I have whatever I need. I gave you everything. So it's laid on. It's gewaldig. So Rabbi Shimon would tell you, according to one of the Meforshim on the Mechilta, Rabbi Shimon would tell you that the Eibishter did that to put it into Eden real deep, 40 years, that they should know that that's the Seder. And once you get them there, it's the swell. That's also the Seder. So you got to have crops, and you got to bring up a country and build it. So Rabbi Shimon said, "Ain't no going to I will do it for you." I said, "It's going to be kosher for miles." Kosher for Rabbi Ishmael. What did he need to have the whole Eden and dragging the Eden around in the Midbar for 40 years? Afu began it was only on the man. So he suggested Rabbi Ishmael would tell you it was for another Indian, that in order that Eden should really come to understand what Torah is really all about and what is the message of the Eibishter to the world, etc. Arboim shnin. It takes 40 years for a man to really know what his Rav is teaching him. And that's what the Rebbe said when he got to the Friedrich Rebbe, and that's the whole Indian. It took, they called 40 years for us to really realize. And Rashi brings it at the end of the Torah in Pasuk Kisovei, right at the end of Pasuk Kisovei. Rashi brings it, that was the 40 years in the Midbar. The Leikoim Inash Hadaita the Rabbi Ad Arboin Shnin. He can't really understand his Rav until the end of 40. Yeah, and then Rashi said, Ad Koi Loi Hikpi the Kodesh Baruch Hu. The answer wasn't the breakers if he didn't really understand everything. But he said, Mikan Va'elech Yakpi. From here and further, the answer is going to be particular if you don't understand the real message. I think it's a rather sharp Rashi over there. And the Rebbe quoted it on many occasions. But, the first 40 years, everything was okay. But from now on, the Friedrich Rebbe and the Eibishter and everybody is going to do mando. Ein tzorech leima, but that's also sharp by the Rebbe. But the Rebbe is waiting 40 years that he was telling us anyway what was the real message in the name of the Friedrich Rebbe. Now we've got to get down to it and really understand what on earth is he really telling us, and that he's telling us that we've got to bring Mashiach to Koil Mamish, we've got to change the whole world and bring it to its emes hatakli.
Amen.
That's what the Alter Rebbe says in Perek Lamed Lambo, that the whole world was created for Yemei Mashiach. Arafa, Lefize, kommt euch. Rabbi Ishmael would tell you we needed those 40 years in the Midbar in order we should really come to understand what Moshe Rabbeinu was really telling us. What is he real? What's his real kavanah of his message? What's it all about? And for that's why the Eibishter gave you the man, because you needed 40 years to really tip your cup and know what was the Emerson message. Well, after that, the Seder is, once you get into the soil, you got to start working and doing things, because that's the ultimate task. Rabbi Shimon says, wait a minute. Let others do that. And that's why not many people can do like Rabbi Shimon. Hard. Not many people can really do it that way. However, there's a famous mime from the Alter Rebbe. Well, it's famous. Everything the Rebbeim said is famous. There's a mime from the Alter Rebbe in the Morim HaKitzorim. The short mimes, what most of them are supposed to have been said before his arrest, before he was arrested in Tov Kuf Nun Tes. However, over there he brings that Gemara and he said, "Ha was a Karashbi, will I also be Adam, Mashke and all the rest." They did according to Rabbi Ishmael and also be Adam. Lafisa, we have to, most of us, except for very chosen people, they have to do like Rabbi Ishmael. which means we've got to be busy with the world. We've got to do the world. We've got to have something to bring in our panose. That's what Rabbi Shmuel said. You've got to bring it in. You've got to do what you've got to do. Now, obviously, the Alter Rebbe, every year, the Pnimius Halev has to paskin with Reb Shimon. It could be that he's not like Reb Shimon, and he can't really do what Reb Shimon said, and he has to be busy with the world like Rabbi Shmuel said. But deep inside, he has to know that Rabbi Shimon is right. That really, what you should really be doing is learning Torah the whole time, and that's really the emes of real tachlis of everything. But just because you're a Zan Neshama, the shayat to Rabbi Shmuel's general ruling, and therefore you can't. But if you know that that's what you should be doing, then when you do learn Torah, then that becomes your principle in life, and the other things become, as it were, how do you call it, tefillim. They become what's the word, subservient or subordinate. They become subordinate, and you're learning Torah, that's the ikka in your life. So when you learn Torah, it could be only for a certain period of the day, or a certain portion, in hours and so on. But when you're in it, you know that you're in it, and that's your whole ikka. Tachlis, and therefore you don't look at your telephone every minute or something, morning and clan, to know what's going on with the whole mass. You don't even know such a thing as a telephone. You're in learning Torah, Zako, Ein Shum Dova, Chutz Miseh, because das ist the ganze Rike. Even though you're doing, that's what the Alter Rebbe said, even though you're doing according to Rabbi Shmuel, that's what you should. Ein prayer, as I'm the Neshama like Rabbi Shimon, but inside you have to know Rabbi Shimon's right. Really, he's right. And the whole we're doing according to Rabbi Shmuel, because we're like, we're anusim, we just have no brayer, we've got to do it. Anyway, Lefi Zekum Toy, that Rabbi Shimon puts down a yesod, that you shouldn't have to worry about anything, it's just flows l'kamei after Rebishter. And that's a pshat lo nitna Torah ela oichlei haman. That's the inyan of the man. The stavki dava yoim b'yoimai. That's it. Your term is it's not going to be. So comes along the Kli Yochel. But the Kli Yochel, he was already in the time of the Baal Shem Tov. I think he might have even been a Talmud, or he might have been a Talmud Chova with the Be'er Mayim Chaim, but he was also in the time, the Talmudi of Baal Shem Tov. But he was definitely Ushama at Torah Chassidus in its beginnings, the Kli Yochel. I don't know what he was actually. Shayat to the Talmudi of Baal Shem Tov. Upon him, he brings down an amazing, how do you call it, he brings down the Rabbeinu Yitzchok Abarbanel. That's the Abarbanel. He was a big Meshachist, the Abarbanel. Man, he wrote a huge sefer all about Mashiach. Yeah, and it's coming every day. He was a big Meshachist, the Abarbanel. Also upon him is, you see, not just in our generation, there are Meshachists. They've been Odech. And he quotes the Beshalach Shvat. What the Beshalach Shvat was a very early sefer. He was one of the first big Musa Sforim. Beshalach Shvat, a very big sefer. Several volumes on the whole Chumash, very, very big, realistic, amazing sefer. That was written by one of the very early Sfardim. What was his name? Yitzchak Armanoah, I've forgotten his surname, but upon him he was a Sfardi. Upon him, they both say, the Akedah was much after the Abarbanel. The Abarbanel was a Rishon. And they both say like this. They say that when you are born and you come down into the world, pinked, as if in Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah is like a new birth of the whole world, then it's already decided in heaven how much you're going to have all your life in the form of, gashmistic riches or whatever you call it. all the gashmias and the things in this life that you're going to have, it's all decided. That's all decided L'mayla. Now, you have to be very careful in life, because if you spend tremendous amount of your koiches making riches, having geld in the bank and all sorts of good sachen, it could be that a lot of it's not really ever going to really belong to you. It's there in the bank, or it might be in properties, and who knows what you bought all over the place. But it could be that you'll never use it because you weren't really meant to. And you know the famous story, once on Yud of Nisan, the Rebbe told this amazing, it was a very mind-boggling story. It was Yud of Nisan, the Rebbe told the story. And there was a huge query. He was a Yid. He lived in America, and he was mamish worth billions, as I think it was. But it was very hard to get to him. He never used to give much talk, it appears. And he had this huge army of detectives and bodyguards and all the people that whenever he went out on the street, that nobody should ever be able to get close to him. And his car had about 50 different safety locks on it, and you had to have a whole safer maftechas to know all the different drays with the to turn on the modem. That everything was this tremendous. He had these huge walls with the television cameras all around the walls, and all sorts of amazing. And he still was always, irritable and not happy with himself. And if ever the phone rang, he would never answer the phone. He'd never answer his own phone because he was frightened of somebody calling about money. And in his office, he always got his secretaries to make the calls, and not only if it was something he was sure that's what he really wanted to talk about, that he would talk on the phone. In other words, the Rebbe said, what sort of a life did he really have? And the Rebbe, it was a whole famous thing, because the Rebbe said that before he came to the Farbrengen, he saw in the newspapers that this man had passed away. The Rebbe said, what did I have to see that for on a day like this? Yud Aleph Nisan. The Rebbe said, why did I have to see that? Why, before I came to a Farbrengen, why did that knowledge reach me that this man had passed away? And so the Rebbe said, we can learn from that. And the whole amazing, why did you come down into the world? You only came down into the world to make the world better. Whatever you got really belongs to the world. It doesn't really belong to you. You only have the right to use a bit of it that you need. It's so amazing. I mean, very similar to the Abarbanel and to the Al-Qaeda. And they say that Chonila, if you put in a lot of effort, you get all sorts of which not really meant for you, that you just leave it behind when you leave the world. And it's very depressing to think of it, but others get their hands on it. So, if you went out Pitur, the good people get their hands on it. Your inheritors, they might get it. But according to them, you can never really earn any more for yourself and use it more than what you're supposed to. And that every Rosh Hashanah is just another chapter in that general picture, but it's like that the whole year. Right. He stayed in the Kliyok. They bring to Hashem the Rabba now. He said it's mind-boggling. And he said the man came down exactly that way, because the man was the beginning of the Jewish people. It came down what you needed for that day, on that day. Not anything more than what you needed. What did they need in the midbar? It doesn't enough to heaven in the midbar, just enough to eat, enough to drink, and water they had plenty, because the mountain itself started to melt and formed rivers. And Lafi said, you can never really have any more than what you meant to have. That's what the Rebbe once said. I was once there. The Rebbe quoted a whole thing about a Yid that he'd always held his shop open morning and on Shabbat. And the Rebbe said that by keeping his shop open on Shabbos, he's Rachmanin and Islam, earning things that will never be shaykh to him. He'll never have any benefit from it. He'll never be shaykh to it. He'll never actually be able to use that money, even though he may look to him as if he is, because what will happen happen is that what he earned on Shabbos will go Rahman to a doctor, or it'll go on Wall Street, or it'll go somewhere else. It'll be lost. It won't be directly noticed to him that money they earn on Shabbos, but the Eibush will subtract it all one way or another. Very mind-boggling. And if you can't earn any more than what you really meant to. I tell you, that's what's written. And that's what's written in the Kli Yocha. It's a moyendige Gesach. And if he says that that's the inyan for nitna Torah ela lo echle haman. He said your whole inyan in life is only to learn Torah. That's what you came down, and the Torah is going to change the world. And you have to keep mitzvahs. You have to learn with other people. When I say just to learn Torah, I don't mean just only to learn Torah, but all the inyan connected. Yeah, with Torah and with mitzvahs. That's what you came into the world for. You got to have what you got to have what you got to have. Man teaches us that the Eibush looks after, and he gives you exactly what you need. And that's the whole of your life was summed up by that day. That's the whole of your life. Hayoim, yoim. Like the Rebbe said, today is the day. Hayoim, das is the talk. And that says it well, your whole life. What are you worried about? With Trace the Cope, if you have what you want to, that's what you got to need. The Eibush is already, he's had it in mind right from the very beginning up there at the Bria, for your creation. And for that matter, he's had it in mind from the beginning of the Bria. Because you say in Pirkei Avos, every time you learn Pirkei Hay in Pirkei Avos, you say that there was Asara Dvarim that were Nivro Bein HaShmoses. 10 things were created in the last second before the end of the first day. And one of them is the man. That the man was created way back at the beginning of creation, and the Eibush is keeping it there for everybody who needs it. He keeps it hidden away for everybody who needs it. It says the Kli Yocha b'Shem, the Ababanel, it's a waste of your time. What's that for Drayna Kop? Just sit and learn Torah. And the message of the man is Loi Nitna Torah Ela La'echle Haman, meaning only to that generation. Ela Loi Nitna Torah Ela La'echle Haman is an everlasting thing. The man was created right from the very beginning, and man is there in the Eibush's pot waiting for you. All he wants you to do is devote yourself completely to what you got to devote yourself to, and he'll look after it more than what is due to you. You're not going to get. Why do some people get riches and they get a lot of money and they're well off and they're going to do it? Well, that's what the Rebbe said on that Sikha on Yudal Nissen. They have that in order to help the world, help other people and give them money. Like the Alter Rebbe says, what you need for your family, you're allowed to keep. But to bring up your children, you don't have to bring them up and feed them fish bones or something. You have to feed them properly. And if you got a bit of money, you send them to the best cheder, and they're going to do it. But more than that, you don't really need. If you need to have a car, you have a good car. Why do you have to have a rattle trap that you'll take every day into the garage? You buy a car, buy a good car, my reputation. But you have to know that more than what you really need, you're not ever going to have. If you have a lot, that's a sign that you're a neshama klolis. You've got to help other people. And that's what the Rebbe said on that Yidduch Nissen. The Rebbe said, what a rachmanas of that Yid that he didn't realize that. It was therefore he was very much tired when he read this whole thing in the paper about this Yid. And he heard about him before. And the Rebbe said, it's a big sorrow to hear that a person didn't realize, why he had all that money, and he was just, with all his detectives and all his protection and the security, system around him, because he didn't know what he was really supposed to be doing. The inyan of Nitna Torah and the inyan of man are closely linked together so much that you've got to realize that you don't have to worry. If you devote yourself to Torah, for sure you're going to be looked after. Afilu b'zman hazeh, afilu b'zman hagolus, but that's an everlasting principle. And the whole inyan of the Torah came to us, dafki through the man, together with the inyan of the man. And that's a limud, how to live with the Torah. Therefore, the man and a sin, it's a trial. Not easy. Hayela. Remember, if you take that attitude, then you go in the Torah. You're always progressing. You're always getting better and better the whole time, going higher and higher. Aren't you, Levi Lord?
Yeah.
Yes, my son. So you won a prize now for 5 books. You got to win a prize now for 12 books. 13 books. 13 is Gematria Echa. And Yud Beis is connected to Yud Beis Chalas, according to the reason we're supposed to have on Shabbos. Now we learn from Pasha Beshalach Shvat. But the Alter Rebbe never used to use Yud Beis Chalas. You know, the Alter Rebbe says all you need is 2. One inside the other in Torah, the Alter Rebbe says. And I once asked the Alter Rebbe, why doesn't he use it? Who was it who asked him? I forgot the answer. So if I spend time and money now, I'll get off my track a little bit. But there was a mice with the Alter Rebbe. That somebody asked him, why does he use only 2? How he doesn't use the 12? Wrote down the Kishvi Arisa. But, what a sight. Völlig gesagt. It's amazing. The Alter Rebbe says that since it's not written, as far as he knows, anywhere in the Divrei Chazal, in the Gemara Medrash, therefore he doesn't want to do B'Poel, just a Pirsum L'Rabim, even though Pikaboga, he wants to only do things B'Poel where everybody will see what he's doing, if it's Al Pikaboga, only if it's also got a Mokeh in Divrei Chazal. And that's a big yisod in the Alter Rebbe. And you should realize that the whole Siddur, the whole Nusach, our reason we daven him, it's based on that principle. It's a famous statement of the Alter Rebbe about a whole big reason. The Rebbe's grandfather, the Shalach Koil, he's got a whole big pilpul about that. There's a big cloud in the Alter Rebbe. So even though the Alter Rebbe was mamish pnimis, that was his whole inyan, although Begolui, the people should see, and everything should become like a word, he only wanted to do those things al Pikaboga, which also have a mocked became more faces. Very amazing thing. Anyway, let's get back to our theme. It's Lafise. We see that the whole Indian is an amazing connection between Limud Torah and Achilles Haman. And therefore they tell about Rav Nochem Chernobyl. You know, he was the Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov. He was a direct Talmud. He was a Zoki. And the Alter Rebbe became a Machutin with his son, Mordechai Chernobyl, Motel Chernobyl. But Rav Nochem Chernobyl, he would never go to sleep at night if he knew there was any money in the house.
What?
Yeah. He would never go to sleep if he knew there was any money in the house, and therefore if there was any money left over from the day's, what you might call dealings, he would give it away to poor people, to anybody who needed it, or he would make sure that it was got out of the house, so the next morning you have to start all over again. So that's where he lived his whole life, and his Robertson had a very hard job. You know the whole story about the way stuff from the mouse. There's a whole story that they owed, the Robertson got herself into debt. She owed different people quite a large sum of money, actually. All of a sudden the Yid comes in, and he says to Nochem Chernobyl that he's bought him a gift, and he wants to know it should be used for the household. It's exactly the amount of money that they need to pay off all the debts. So he thinks, the Rebbetzin will be pleased about this, and he puts it down on the table, and he goes back to learning, and he does. All of a sudden there comes in, a Yid comes running in. Hey, you guys don't know the miser? The Rebbe brings down the miser. You know the miser. Yeah. You know the miser. So anyway, comes running in, he says he's got to marry off his daughter, he doesn't have a penny, and she's never her color. yes, it's Knesset L'chuppah, she doesn't have, and what's he going to do, and the chassan's already waiting, and what was it, Matoni, just a schrecklich, and so the Rebbe Shalom said, how much do you need? If people ask, he said, pink them school. So that's exactly what they need for the dowry and for all the things and all the this, and to pay for the things that she needs. I can't sit there. So Rebbe Shalom said, wait a minute, he went into the next room, and he had a whole deal with himself. Yeah, what was the nefesh elokis and what was the nefesh avami? Was it the nefesh elokis was telling him he should keep it because his wife needs the money desperately, or was the nefesh elokis was telling him he should give it to the poor man? And he came to the conclusion that it was his nefesh avami that was telling him to give it to his wife, and his nefesh elokis was telling him to give it to the Shid. So he gave it to her. The lady of the room came in and she said, by the way, can you please give me the money? I've got to give it out to these different people. And he says, oh. The Rebbe brought down the mice, and so we see that what did he try to decide on Noam Shalom? He tried to decide what was Mitzad the Nefesh Elokis and what was Mitzad the Nefesh Avami. That's a big job in life, you understand? To decide what is really your nefesh avami that looks very good, it looks beautiful. You have to think carefully. Maybe it's your nefesh avami. You say, oh no, I really mean, and I'm thinking, and this is my really genuine benefit in spiritualities, and it faces me to us, and for other people's benefit, it could be it's a nefesh avami. Just imagine that's the nefesh avami. Pay off his debt, I mean, so a mitzvah to pay off your debt, but to save another year, to give him what he needs, ain't l'mayla mitzvah. That's what we learn from Rav Nachum Chernobyl. And he did not ever go to sleep. One night, somebody tried to hide an envelope in one of the drawers or something at the bottom of some room, and he felt it. And he when he put his head down on the pillow to sleep, all of a sudden he said, no, there's something not right here. And he went out and he told them that they must pull out the hidden oitzet, they must get rid of it. So because he held mamish kipshuta tva yoyim ba. And you get in that. That's the way it is now, and that's it. So just one brief little word before we finish, and that is that there's a little thing that just sort of clicks in your mind before we complete the whole picture. So there's a very famous, I don't know, I'm sure he is. There's one of the big literature gedolim that he was a Talmud, I think, of Chaim Volozhiner. Certainly was. He's called the Nachiv. He's called the Nachiv, the Naftali Tzvi. Naftali Tzvi, what's his name? I forgot. Anyway, he's called the Nachiv. And he was a big Gaon, as I know about. He was a Goyser Gaon, a literature. So he says, everybody forgets that's written in the Mechilta, Lo nitna ha'Torah lidreish, ela le'oich haman. He said, what's the text lidreish? So he said there are two ways, or two inyonim in Torah. One is just to learn Shulchan Aruch, learn all the things, know what you got to know, and gay weiter. And he said there's another end to learn for people, and to learn the whole time, just for the sake of learning the Torah. You have to do Torah v'yad, dafki be'iyun, and nutzen your cup the whole time. So he said that's what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai means, that for that you've got to be the Oichle Haman. He said, that takes time. If you start pupilling in the Zach, all of a sudden you'll be pupilling, you're learning, and it'll look up the clock, a couple of hours are going by without even feeling it, without even noticing it. I remember one night a Bacher said to me the reason he didn't come to class, that he was so fatift, and he's learning in the Zal that he never knew that the time had gone by. So, I hope he really meant that, because if he did, then that was a very good sign. But it might have been but anyway, whatever. It's, we have to assume that he meant it, be'emes. It's, Rabbi Shimon says that the whole Indian from learning Torah by Yidden, the whole Indian from learning Torah is pilpering into. And remember, the Netziv must be that that's the whole Indian, which Yidden are different than all other peoples of Bnei Adoma. That all the peoples of Adoma got their laws, this is the law, this is the law, But we said, Yidden sit the whole time with pilpul, and it's not just some big, knob or somebody who's a philosopher, he talks a bit more about these. No, all the Yidden sits in the base of Medrash, and we're pilpul tzcharum. It could be nobody really knows what the ultimate maskana is, or maybe they're not even interested. Over time, we kocht and we learned, and we started to swallow, and we frag kashis, and we looked at all the forshim, we schreib pilpuls, and he said, that's the Taish Nit in Atera Lidre. So he said, that's only by Yidden that they're Oichle Haman. For that you got to be Oichle Haman, you got to forget, because you start off learning, how to forget the business, you're involved in the Indian and learning, and he said, that's the whole Ike, Kedushas, Limud HaTorah, is that, and that's the Indian from Torah Lishmo. Therefore he brings a very right point. And he says, the fire, a ger shebol his guy here, he's allowed to learn the actual laws in Shulchan Aruch. He can even learn Chassidus, or he can learn. He can learn Pnimis HaTorah. He's not allowed to learn according to the V'yaisten or the Marshua, or whatever, the Akiva Eiger. I think it's a Akiva Eiger of the Marshua. That he's not allowed to learn the Gemara, because the Gemara is Torah Lishmo. It's a pilpul in Tzarek. That he's not allowed to learn until he becomes a full ger, because that's pilpul of the rice, and that's only that's what it's written that you're allowed to teach a goy Torah, only that. Of all other matters of Torah you can teach him, other than that, of a pilpul, a hidden tzarek, that he's got to have already. He's got to go through the whole process, then he can come into that. If he said, that's the whole Indian of Torah. That's what the whole Indian is like. Torah leaders, that the pilpul in Torah, to learn Torah lishmo, not really caring where you're going with it. Just the fact that you're zeicha to learn the Avis to Torah. Oh, that's for the Oichle Haman. That's people that look at the clock, they don't know where the clock is, they wasn't going in. If somebody calls out and shreis, we have to do mincha. They're in another world, they don't know where they are, they're wasting from going in. We down, they do. That's what I'll need to have, I'll have. And if not, I say, I'll find a night. The Master of Zusha, he went into a side room, and he said, Rabbeinu Shalom, Zusha Daf Essen. It wasn't the Master. He'd already gone a day or two without having anything. All of a sudden he remembered it was ice. He said, Rabbeinu Shalom, Zusha needs to eat. And all of a sudden he got in his mouth, Davash and, Chalav, what they call it, coconut milk or something in his mouth. And that was enough to hold him several days. He went without any problems. No. So that's Lidreis, yeah. That's only Eichler Haman. That's an Akuda, my guys. Those are the tights. So just to finish it all off, we say on Rosh Hashanah in the article the 10 Pesukim of remembrances, the Chreinu. And we bring the Pasuk in Yirmiyahu Hanavi, where the Eibusha says to Yirmiyahu Hanavi, he must go and tell the Yidden, he must go and tell Yerushalayim. That's also a whole big deal about the Mitzvah David says that means the Yidden in Yerushalayim. Well, why did he say Yerushalayim? Anyway, kind of everything. So he says that Zochati lo, tell the Yidden, Zochati lo chesed niu, Yuraich avus kluleis hayich, lechteich acharai bamidbo be'eretz lo yizaruha. Tell the Yidden that I always remember that. I'll never forget that, says the Eibusha. Right now, Kodesh Yisrael Hashem, the Yidden are like adequate Kodesh, not just some holy, but Kodesh Be'etzem, Racist to us, anybody who chaps with him is chayv misa. That's a famous statement out there. And Yirmiyahu Hanavi, and so the Radaka, we don't know a few of the other Mephoshim say it, a mind-boggling thing. They say, if Goyim Chepesach Medidin, then it was meant to be like that. Yeah? So why does the Eibusha say that he will punish the Goyim? It's written, Ra Tavoy Aleim Neum Hashem. That those who chapel with the Yidden, it's going to be bad for them. So everybody says, but in the same chapter, it's written that Hashem is going to give the Yidden into the hands of their enemy because they're not Paseda. So it's like a contradiction from the beginning to the middle. So the Radak says over the Emes, he said that the Yidden were very not Paseda at the time of Yirmiyahu, and it was due to them a punishment, but the Eibusha will always remember what they did when they first went out of Mitzrayim. There's a Chad Tilach. Chesed no Rayich, and he said that will be enough to save them and to give the Eibusha a reason why it will punish the Goyim. All right, that'll maybe be a reason why should he punish them just because he remembers how good the Yidden were? It's a very interesting thing. And the Metzudas David hints at it, and there's another one of the great Mephoshim over there. Who is it? Mali Crow or somebody. The Radak. Yeah, the Radak also. But he's the main one. It says it very clearly. The Eibusha is going to punish the Goyim because he remembers just how wonderful the Yidden were when they went out of Egypt. And so they say over there, what is the Yirmiyahu Hanavi says, what is the greatness? Lech teich acharai. That you went after me, you followed me in the desert, where there was nothing to eat, there was nothing to eat, nothing to drink, and you walked after me for 40 years in the desert, and you believed in me. What did I do? I gave you the man. But some of the Mephoshim say, well, they ain't a Chanami, but they only have today, and who knows what's going to be tomorrow. Pictures that we saw in the great Mephoshim over here, and they said, oh yes, I remember that, and I'll never forget that. I remember Ad Laneitzach, that you followed me in the Midbar, Eretz, Loi, Sarua, Tishadus. Give a cook what Rashi brings over there, and he brings in the name of the Jens Merazil. He says, Lech teich acharai, that you followed my two shluchim, Moshe Aaron. Amazing Rashi. Lech teich acharai, followed the Eibusha. You followed me, following the Eibusha. No. He said, you followed my two shluchim, Moshe Aaron. And Rashi quotes it, that's a Pshuta Shomikha. You know what I mean? You went out of the mid because the Moshe was leading you. No, you follow my shluchim, Moshe Aaron, and that's the greatness. That is the emes of greatness of Mamira. That's how you had the Dvar Yom B'Yom against it. Just to Mamira, that's what I want to leave you with tonight. We're in exactly the same position now. We're in a midbar. Everybody thinks, oh, they got the state of it. Baloney, the whole place is just going to the pack, and the whole world's going to the pack. It's fast. It's a midbar. The whole world, with all its tremendous modern civilization, it's a midbar. You're being sent out into the midbar. You're being sent out into the midbar. What are you going to do? You're going to follow Moshe. You're going to follow Moshe. Oh, that's called Lech teich acharai. And my middle will bring you all the things you need. You have the man who's from else would have asked. You have everything you have. Yeah, and what will you have? You'll have the endless purpose of following him in the midbar is to get there out the soil. Here it's going to bring us to Shia. Take it from Miyad. Take it from Miyad Mami. Mamira, that's a Lech teich acharai, is following Moshe Rabbeinu and listening to what he says and knowing that you can't play around. And on the contrary, he will always remember that even after Mashiach will come, and even after it will be the most ideal utopia that you could possibly imagine. They would say, oh yes, I remember that you followed in the midbar pictures in your testament. And that's why you got everything that you need. What do you need? Yeah, you need a sefer from Chassidus, the Gemara, and a few other little things. And you have your big fig tree, and you're sitting there, with Gilei Lakuz, the whole thing, we pilchen zich niet naar het lidreich. Oh man, ken je hier? Wat zo, tegen me uit. Nou.